Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Eddie Marcus. I'm here one more time as a voice for basic human rights for all people and an expression of the Father's love for you. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to thank you, first of all, for stopping here on this particular presentation. And I hope that you are serious enough to hang on till it's over, and maybe you will get something, hopefully. I'm definitely trying to pour it out to you and in such a way that you will not flip the channel, that even if I say something that pisses you off, you'll recognize that it is for the good of humanity that I say that, and you just put up with it. You know, I want to speak at this moment in time on a matter that is very essential to us. I've spoken occasionally on the great deception that allows us to be caught in the trap that we're in today. And today I want to speak on that just a little bit more because I know I missed you. I know I missed you because you haven't changed. I know this as a fact because today the world is worse than it was yesterday. So I want to speak on how deception conned, not America, not whites or blacks, but how deception conned humanity. And I want you to understand this, ladies and gentlemen, so the analogies I use are a little bit more current, and the hope is that it will be able to bring an identification that you understand. And I want you to know that each day an act of deception shows its ugly face. And I'm going to, as my friend would always say, is this the short version? I'm going to try to give you the short version. The President of the United States achieved his position on the back of deception. Donald Trump is the President of the United States because he deceived the American people. A group of disgruntled citizens who were angry at the failure to deliver solutions to their concerns after years of broken promises by both major political parties representing the government. And so they turned to an outside source. Their choice is a man that mastered the art of deception, to the degree it allowed every one of his supporters to believe that his deception would be used to give them reprieve. They knew he was a con artist from the moment of his birth acclaim of Obama not being a citizen of the United States and unworthy of office. He kindled the hate of others who saw race as key to their problems. They knew he was crooked, but they wanted to believe he cared for them. They did not understand that the position they found themselves in was due to a much bigger con of humanity. He promised to drain the swamp, bring in the best people, promised to answer their concerns, which themselves were prejudiced against other citizens, quickly. He was going to bring them in quickly. It is so easy, he claimed. They would have better and cheaper health care, plenty of jobs, etc. This he, and only he, could deliver because he had the best brain, the smartest man in America. So he came into office, rejected advice from everyone, and firing from jobs anyone that had a mind and ability to think. He brought into power those from the cesspool, those who were so criminal they dared not challenge him. So they came into office as yes men and women, there to do his dictatorial biddings, or exposed or be exposed for their criminal activities. His team knew quite well that he was criminal, but as president, he should be able to protect them. When that part of the American justice system that had not been compromised stood up to his advocacies, he would do what he had been doing his entire life: lying. He would inflame his supporters by saying that the truth was fake and only he should be believed. Whenever one of his crooks were busted, they would give voice to the lie as truth and the truth as lies. Call that deception. His record in office indicates he is as corrupt in office as before coming into office. The nation is discovering everything about him is connected in some way or other to corruption. They know as well as he that he colluded with others to get in office. Thus, every time he and his agents speak to the public about crimes they are found guilty of, he and them lie that no collusion was charged, even when the act of collusion is absent in the conversation. This is the practice of keeping his supporters brain dead, to keep them loyal as if others are fake, deep state, out to get him. Other times, people see his scheme as nothingness, to be disregarded, which he consistently tries to destroy. The system of some decency and establish a fake nation built on lies, built on cheating, built on stealing, built on hate and bigotry, racism and homophobia, and one other, white supremacy, with a dictator, him. This is the practice that stole humanity's birthrights. Careers of choice for all. That made it possible for food, clothing, and shelter for all. Free. Free education. Unlimited, unrestricted for all. Free health care from the womb to the tomb for all. And everything imaginable that's created and manifest at the hands of man is accessible or made accessible to humans as they need, as they want and desire. This is the gift of the Father, God, as love to his creation. My mission here is to remind you of the scam played on humanity at the hands of a great deceiver. That with this knowledge, you may awake from this deception and return to the only way of peace, the only way of prosperity, the only way of freedom, the only way of joy for all, God. This deceiver, Trump, is not working alone. He has much bigger power behind him. That support is destruction of America's institution, not for good, but for evil, including the Department of Justice, the Supreme Court, the U.S. Congress, education, health care, energy, and the building of a massive military force. God's way, absent fear, equals courage. It equals life. But what do you want? What do you deserve? You see daily what the criminal enterprise of the Republican Party offers. To date, you have 14 or close to 20 announced candidates of the Democratic Party seeking office as president, each saying they are the best to serve you. So, what do you want? What do you deserve? The answer to the first determines the answer to the second. Let me help you answer. If you can accept the same and advocate for it for all others as you desire for yourselves, you deserve a return to your birthrights. If you hold for any reason that it's okay if some of the citizens are denied certain benefits that you yourselves want, you deserve to be dictated to by the same evil as the people of North Korea, people of Russia, people of China, people of the Philippines. You deserve hell. No Republican or Democrat can offer you your birthright. This you must claim for one another, for yourselves, and refuse to settle for anything less. Now, I know what I was not restricted to a building. Should I say, now I know why I was not restricted to a building. That I might remain free to reach out to the nations. Basically, ladies and gentlemen, it's no mystery. No mystery at all. You are deceived, and you've always been deceived, and you have not found any way to release that stupidity. In America, white people grew up understanding that everything they had or got, they took it. They took it. They took the land. They made others work for them. They treated their wives as baby factories. So they themselves called themselves the master of the land. How can I say that? I grew up years and years and years ago, and I used to watch on television how that Union Army, they would go out and come in and back up the white people as they were taking the Indians' land. They would treat the Indians so cold, while Indians had sticks with a rock on the end. And I, being brought up here in America, saw that as the only way that we had a place to live. We had land that we could call our own. You see, we didn't have land as black people, but I saw all Americans' land as our land. I was very young and stupid at that time. But it was all because the soldiers, the white man, took the land. At that point in my life, I never knew that they had used black people for slave labor. I didn't know that they hid that from us. They didn't tell us that. They didn't even show that on TV. And when they did, they showed Tarzan walking around, one white man handling the jungle, and all the black folks walking around with bones in their nose and in their ears hollering, whoa, 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 whoa. Scared the hell out of me. My own color. Scared of Africans. You see, that's what you call the brainwashing. That's why we are as stupid as we are. And we don't want anything to change us. But there are white people that will tell you the story. They will tell you that white people try to keep black people down because they were so vicious towards blacks that they themselves in their whole heart believed that if blacks ever rose to power, they would do to them what they did to blacks. They really believe this, and so they will do anything to keep the black man down. And for those of you who talk about God, that has no significance in your life. You went to church because your parents made you go to church, and they went to church because there was a game they had hoped would work for them. And so, as any American, I went to church all the time. What did I get out of the church? I got stories. And one story that hit me the most, that stuck with me all of my life, and that was the story of Jesus Christ. That was the story of a good man. Now, at the time, I didn't know whether Jesus Christ was white or black. I know they made him look white, but it wasn't his color that I focused on. It was the message. And it seemed to be the most heroic message. But other than that, church was just a place that you go on Sundays or whenever else they go. Why I say that is because you told stories and people listened. They got dressed up to go to church. They might bring some friends to their house to feed them, have a good time. But the message of the Bible was never practiced in my eyes or in anybody else's eyes. I didn't see it anywhere until the 60s, when Dr. Martin Luther King and Malcolm X. Now, I was drawn to Dr. Martin Luther King because I was taught about that kind of activity. I was taught about that kind of love that generated the kind of action that reached out to help those who were in need. I saw other people who came along and joined with him to be a part of that movement, but when he was killed, they all fell to the side. So Dr. King and Dr. King alone is that one figure that gave me some semblance of what it really meant to be a child of God, to care about one another. And I haven't seen that since Dr. King died. So I know, ladies and gentlemen, that me, who was going to church, I had no respect for church. And so I decided to ask one day a person that I knew quite well. And I asked them to tell me the truth for a question that I had to ask. And I asked them this: you've lived a limited number of years, and you grew up with your family, you were taken to church all the time. Now at your young age, tell me the truth. What does the church mean to you? She looked at me honestly and said, nothing. It means nothing. I told her I wasn't going to tell you her name. She said it was okay, but I'm going to keep it to myself anyway. She said it meant nothing. Now what did that represent? As far as I'm concerned, it represents all people, all young folks going to church all the time. It means nothing. Why? Because it means nothing to your parents. It means nothing because that plant that was put in their minds years and years ago about white supremacy, about other people doesn't have any rights, meaning that some were going to be poor, some were going to be wealthy, and that was a result of lying and deceiving, creating poverty, which extended crime and violence, took away any concept of decency in life, prejudice, bigotry. Oh my God. And that's the world we live in today. That is the world that allowed you to vote for Trump. Those of you who don't go to church, or those who went to church, preachers, to vote for this evil. This evil. And now you got a bunch of Democrats coming together saying if you can vote for Trump, they know they're better than Trump, so they stand a chance. Well, what do they have to offer? That is not the question that should be asked. The question is, what do you want? What do you deserve? And you should get just that. Your seed. That's what you should get. But I say to you, ladies and gentlemen, if you want the peace and prosperity and freedom and joy of life, there's only one way to get it. And that is to feel and care about every other individual as you care about yourself. And that they would respond to you the same way as you respond to them. That is the only way. That means that those things that are essential, those birthrights, those gifts essential for survival, should be yours and every individual, not just in America, but on earth, and you should not, could not, would not settle for anything less. And if you will, then you need to be beat down by nature. I know you don't like to hear that, but that's the truth. Not because God wants it for you, that's because that's what it is. That the seed you plant, that's the fruit you're going to get. Now, why am I saying this to you? Because I might not have a tomorrow. I'm not angry with you. I know you are the way you are because you haven't had any examples. I know the preachers that preach to you talk, but they're not giving no same walk. They tell you about God when every day they're serving Satan. I can say this because I am the same guy that talked to you about God while I was out homemongering. I'm the same guy that talked to you about God when I was out smoking weed. I'm the same guy, my friends. But why do I tell you that? Because I'm free. I'm not bound by the laws of men, the laws of the devil, the laws of evil that you follow. I know you will punish me when I violate them, but that's your next move. Because whatever you do to me is going to prove to the world that God is real. It's going to prove that I'm not fake. It's going to prove that the people that you listen to are as fake as Donald Trump. And now, ladies and gentlemen, I think I might have made a message. As I can remember, my sister might have said, when you talk to people like that, they don't want to hear it. They're going to cut you off. They're going to shut you off and not hear anything. And I say to her, anybody that knows God is going to raise up their hands and shout, just like those people who wear those red hats talking about make America great again, who said that for Trump, who said that for evil. When people who are seeking the truth, who are walking in light, hear this, they're going to say, thank God Almighty. And everybody planting these seeds headed straight to hell will be pissed. And that's my job, to make you pissed. Ladies and gentlemen, I've given you the words that come from my heart, through my God. And I want to thank you so very much for giving me this your time. And bye-bye.